What's going on, everyone? We are back here with Drinks and Geeks podcast with one of your hosts, Aaron.
Adrian Avila.
Adrian Avila as well. This guy
This time I have a last name.
said it like it's his voice.
Yeah. Adrian Avila.
Adrian Avila. Yeah. We are on episode 7. 7. Can you believe it? We made it to 7. I didn't think we'd make it past 3.
I know, right?
But we're here. Going strong still. Today we are kind of focusing on two topics that are very similar, but it's going to be within the movie realm.
Yeah.
We're going to be talking about some of our favorite movies that we've grown up with, or even to this day, and favorite directors of all time that we enjoy and we still watch to this day. So
True, yeah.
feel free to listen in, watch, and if you guys have any opinions on anything we say
Or debates.
we take constructive criticism.
We take credit cards, cash.
Venmo, Cash App, Aaron Castle _ send it to me. But no, honestly, like when it comes to movies, it's subjective because everything is based on opinion.
Yeah.
So a lot of the things we say today is going to be because we like that.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean you have to agree.
Right.
You know, not many people will. Some people will, but it's just one of those topics where, you know, it's just what we like. And that's why I think we like movies so much, because we can, it tells us a little bit about who that person is, you know? Like if we talk about our favorite movies, I'm like, okay, this guy is Dark Knight, you know? I'm like, all right, I know kind of like what he's about when it comes to the movies. So I guess I'll start it off by asking you. I know this is a very tough question. I feel like it changes a lot.
Yeah.
But what are some of your favorite movies, either now or back then? But just what are some of your favorite movies?
Well, right off the top of my head, I'll just dive into it. I want to get too complicated, but some of my favorites are, I think you said it, Dark Knight. The Dark Knight is one of them. Rocky 3, La La Land, Mission Impossible Fallout, John Wick 4, honestly, I actually like that one. Avengers, Infinity War. I mean, there's a lot. I mean, I'm sure
from listening to you like saying them, I noticed that a lot of them are in the same kind of genre, which is action.
Right.
So I feel like action is something that's like home to you.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk a little bit more on that? Like, why are action movies? Because I know him, I already know this, but like, why are action movies some of your favorites?
Action movies was I think that was the biggest thing growing up watching when I was a kid. I think the first action movie I ever saw was actually a Bruce Lee movie. It was Chinese Connection. I believe that was the second movie that Bruce Lee did. My dad showed me on VHS, and I remember him showing me that movie. Zorro, The Mask of Zorro.
Yep.
Crocodile Dundee 2. Those were like on a loop for me.
Yeah.
For when I was really young, I remember those were the first. Oh, and then Batman 89. My aunt showed me that one. I remember on VHS too as well.
Nice.
And
makes sense.
Yeah. So
he's literally wearing a Batman shirt.
I know, right?
Literally has it on today.
It just says Batman.
That's it. It's that simple.
Kid Crayon.
Kenzie Narcotics. That's all you need to know.
What was some of your earlier movies?
Yeah, so I think growing up, because I had two older sisters, it was a lot of rom-coms. Surprisingly, a lot of rom-coms. Like, dude, it was besides that, one of mine was Godzilla 98. Always watch that one on a loop, like literally still on a loop. You know, it's
call this coffee.
You call this coffee.
Yeah, that's a great one.
So that was like, I always watched it as a kid, probably like every day coming home from school. My sisters would hide it because I'd watch it so much. So that was pretty funny to look back on for them to do. But like I said, growing up with two older sisters, a lot of rom-coms. Like we watched a lot of movies with Hilary Duff, like Cinderella Story.
Okay.
We watched a lot of things like what's that movie? 10 Things I Hate About You.
Okay.
I know they always had that on a loop. Spice Girls, or it was called I think it's called The Spice World with the Spice. I don't know. Spice Girls. There was a movie on them.
Some kind of spice.
And I was, dude, like the songs come on nowadays and I know them still. That's how much they watched it. Like it's been years since my sisters have like lived here.
Right.
You know, we've all been in the same house, but like those Spice Girl songs will still come on and I'll know them by heart but not by
Wow.
choice.
Yeah, yeah.
Not by choice.
I understand. I
Just
think
know
that's
them.
probably why. Yeah, because you grew up with sisters. That I think if I had grown up with sisters, I probably would be in the same boat as you. So
Yeah.
I mean, but you
Yeah.
know, rom coms. I still love watching rom coms.
And it's funny because there's some of like now my favorite movies to watch.
yes,
Like
yeah.
I still love putting on like rom-coms, like anything, and I'm just watching it. You know.
rom coms. I feel like is a genre that we don't see enough anymore. It's
No,
unfortunate.
no.
I mean, this is a whole other subject. I mean, I would get into, but comedy in general is like kind of like dying out. It's
like falling off.
in the theaters. There's not a lot
Yeah.
of good comedy movies, but
I feel like I feel like stand-up's kind of growing more now because I feel like stand-up kind of went on the decline.
Right,
I feel
right.
like with TikTok and everything, you see more like stand-up comedians.
That's all I see on TikTok, yeah.
Exactly. So that's good, but then the movie industry, when it comes to comedy and stuff, that's
it's going down. Yeah.
So we'll see how it kind of levels
yeah.
out. You know.
That's true. That's true.
But yeah, growing up, Godzilla, rom-coms,
That's so
that
funny.
was that was a big thing.
Wow. Wow.
But I would say for now,
And
like
then-
nowadays,
Okay,
man,
okay.
it's just I think it's everywhere. Like you said, one of them, La La Land. La La Land I think it spoke to a lot of people, a lot of creatives.
Yeah.
You know, trying to be something and do something with their life. You know.
This is the dream. This is the dream.
Exactly. Like that's one of the movies that always sticks. I can put that on any day.
Yeah.
I would
Honestly,
say
yeah.
the Spider-Verse movies, both of them. Like
Oh,
those
those are great.
are just a fun watch.
Amazing, yeah.
Like I can just put those on and just you
Yeah.
know do some tasks, do some chores, and then like I'll kind of get sidetracked because I remember the scene.
Yeah, yeah.
I watched that movie I think 4 times in theaters.
That one, yeah, I did see a lot. The first one, and
Yeah.
coming out cross-eyed because I was like,
I think it was
I've never
just
seen the animation.
Yeah, the animation that it was like when I worked at the movies at the time. You know, it was out, and people
Yeah.
would come out asking for 3D glasses.
Oh my
And
goodness.
it's like, no, that's just how the animation is. It's
Oh,
not
that's
3D.
right. Yeah,
It'd
yeah,
be
yeah.
like, can I have 3D glasses? I didn't know it was 3D, and I was like, no, it's not 3D, but that's just the animation.
No.
They're like, what, really? I was like, yeah, trust me, the same thing.
Yeah.
I've never seen anything like this before, so. Yeah, exactly. You have
So
to take your own
sharp, you know?
glasses off. So,
Really sharp.
and then I think
That's
a lot of like geek movies, like Ready Player One. Oh man, Ready Player One's so cool to watch.
Those
it's
are
a fun
yeah.
watch. Yeah.
That movie, I remember. I think I saw like 4 or 5 times in the theater.
Yeah.
That was an awesome. I think I saw it with you one time too in the
We
theater.
saw.
Yeah.
I think we saw the premiere together.
Yeah.
And that guy was laughing down the aisle.
That's right.
He was like drinking like a
Every-
soda, and I just heard ice like jingling,
Every line.
and every line he would just laugh, and he had a very loud and distinct laugh.
That's right,
But, yeah, just a couple to kind of name. I mean, again, we're missing a ton.
I mean,
because-
what are the movies that were always on a loop though? What were those movies
Dang, around that age?
that you were watching constantly?
Man, I'd have to kind of think about.
I have a
that.
few. I mean, there's a few obviously, but I mean,
Well, I relish the thoughts. Let's hear what you got.
like the Mummy,
Okay.
the first Mummy, The Matrix. I think that other one I was telling you about, the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade.
Bum.
Ooh boy, yeah, bum. Yeah, those are the ones I remember watching a lot as I got older, like teenager. Those are the ones I remember. I was always renting them at Blockbuster. So
Yeah.
I remember those were really fun movies. The
Yeah.
adventure ones too.
I definitely think for me, it wasn't more like single like standalone movies. There was a lot of movies like what do you call them? Movies that are like packed in movies. So one of them obviously being Harry Potter. Harry
Okay.
Potter, that's something I think, well, you didn't watch them till later, but you were growing up with it if
Yeah.
you watched it, you know?
If I watched, and
So,
Lord of the
like,
Rings, you just brought up that.
Exactly. So like, especially because those were coming out during those times, like
Yes.
we'd go see them. We'd go see them like
Yeah.
at the theater. Me and my sisters, we'd go see them.
Right.
Lord of the Rings was another one. Like I remember going to see that with my dad and Stephanie. Movies like even the Hunger Games, like the
Okay,
Hunger
yeah,
Games
yeah,
is
yeah.
such a good series that we always watched. And
Nice.
That's one of the movies I can put on still and
Really?
watch it. I just like the concept, the idea of it.
The
And
games.
Jennifer Lawrence, I mean, she's really.
That was.
It's not like she's like oh my god, the best actor. But I think at the time I'm like, wow, like she can hold it down herself on her own, like, you know. So I think it was like, yeah, like stuff like that. Even then, like Pirates of the Caribbean.
Oh, that's a great, you know? Great franchise. Yeah, like, that was a big deal in the theater. First time seeing those movies in the theater. Yeah. Oh man,
seeing Johnny Depp, dude as Jack Sparrow, like the character was so.
But you have heard of me.
Exactly. Yes. Those and like I said, those are movies we actually got to go to the theater and see them and keep up with 1, 2, 3, 4. Like, I think it makes it even better because we were able to do that, you know?
I just think that we had some of the best movies in our generation, in our time.
Hands down.
If you think about it, man, like if you recap everything from the 2000s, it started with X-Men franchise, and then, X-Men, and then Spider-Man, the trilogy, Sam Raimi trilogy, and then right after that, simultaneously, they were finishing the Lord of the Rings trilogy.
Yeah.
And then after that, we got Fantastic Four, and then after that, it was like the Daredevil, and then Elektra, and then Blade. Or,
I don't think I ever saw that one.
The Daredevil,
the movie.
The Daredevil, the Ben Affleck one, really? Oh, dude, you got just watch it just for the hell of it, because it's one of those like in between. It's like it gives you that a little bit of cheesiness, but it's kind of like it has a dark tone.
Ah, okay.
It's pretty good. You can see why they chose Ben Affleck for Batman versus Superman. When you watch that,
you kind of see, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
You can tell why.
I'll have to check it out.
Yeah, that one, and then like all those movies that we just started getting after the 2000s, and then right when 2008 happened, it was the Marvel MCU
started off
phase.
Yeah. And we had no idea what was happening.
No.
Like 2008, again, you try and get in the minds of the people at Marvel and stuff, and they had the plan. They knew.
Yeah.
They were like, this is how the next 10 years for us is going to pan out.
That's so crazy. You know?
They knew what was happening. I feel like they didn't know how big it was going to become, but they had a plan like, hey, this is what we're doing. We're starting with Iron Man.
Phase 1.
And then it just took off after that. They got their, like, the Avengers down, like the characters down.
Yes.
And they were like, hey, let's make all their movies. You know, let it be.
Yeah.
And then boom, bring them together and explode the internet.
They
explode Earth.
They really did. Honestly, that first Avengers movie just blew. I just still never thought we would ever get an Avengers movie. Like that's still still baffles me. Like what?
I remember we went to go see it.
Oh, that's right. Yeah,
we went to the premiere. I think it was a midnight premiere because it's funny how premieres work now. They're usually like around like 6 p.m., 7 p.m.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But back then, premieres would come out at midnight.
Yes,
that was the first showing that you could see the movie, and everyone wanted to go, especially for the Avengers.
I miss those days.
And luckily for me, my sister, I don't know if she worked there, but her best friend was a manager at a theater, so she let us in.
Yeah.
So she let in me, you, my sister, Art, and we were able to watch the Avengers at midnight, getting home at 3 a.m.
Yeah.
And then we had school the next day because it was Friday the next day.
Yeah.
But it was worth every second of it.
Oh, yeah.
That was, man, I remember theaters were just so hype back then.
Yeah.
No reserved seating, none of that. It's just, and everyone was there for the same reason.
Yep.
Same reason. No one cared about life. They just wanted to have that 2.5 hours in the theater and just be a nerd.
Yeah.
Just be lost in the movie there, which everyone was.
For sure, yeah. There was a lot of movies like that. Rogue One, remember that one?
Rogue One, dude.
Yeah. Packed audience, and the ending is still the most epic part of the whole movie with Vader, and it's like, man, everybody was cheering in the theater, and some of the timeless movies that we've got to experience.
What were some of your favorite movies that you saw, like, the premiere of? Like, what can you remember? Because I know I can remember, like, because we always went to premieres. It was a must.
Yeah.
We couldn't wait a day.
No.
Because then we get spoilers, especially with media now. Like, you go on Twitter, TikTok, like, you're bound to get spoiled with something.
It sucks. Yeah, it really does suck in that aspect.
So if you need to see a movie, if you really want to see it, you got to see it that
early,
day, like when it comes out.
Yep.
No later. So that's what me and you always did.
Yes.
And R2,
Yeah. I think some of the earlier ones I remember. Well, like Joker was one.
Yup.
The Batman.
The Batman
was one. Logan. I think I did go Logan. God, man, those movies were, yeah. And then, oh boy, yeah, the Infinity War.
Yeah.
I think that was one where I had to go early. And then, yeah, even Endgame, I think. That's what I'm saying. Like, you go back to the genre, most of the movies that were always hyped for me, particular, were the action movies, the Mission Impossible.
Yeah.
Like, those are the movies that, like, I'm so excited for. Like, we can talk about, like, Deadpool and Wolverine right now. The reason why it's so hyped, it's because we've been wanting an action, well, sort of like an action comedy movie that, you know, we don't get like a duo as much very often, and on this level, on this scale, the hype of for two characters that we're drooling over right now, like we can't even. I'm still like so excited, like I can't even believe that we're getting to see
like they're both going to be on screen together.
Exactly, but for real this time, like
for real,
a whole movie and
like done right.
Yes,
done right. Yeah, that's gonna be hype. That's, I mean, even like now, like they post on socials and everything's just so like they're literally giving the audience everything they want in small doses, just here, and it's just like people are gonna lose their minds when that movie comes out.
I can remember even one other trailer now that you mentioned, just by watching the trailer. One trailer or two trailers I had on the loop for a long time was the first Star Wars Force Awakens trailer.
Oh,
that one. I remember coming home, dude, and just like I was watching it on my desktop, me and our jaws dropped, like we're getting another Star Wars movie, and then I just hear Chewie.
Yeah.
We're home. And I'm like, what?
Chills.
I got chills. Yeah. And then the second one was Batman versus Superman. That trailer. There's a 1% chance. Gotta take it as an absolute certainty. I just remember that, and then seeing that, I was like hyped. And then seeing Batman and Superman for the first time fighting, and even on the trailer, and then they gave you too much in the trailer. They gave you Doomsday in the trailer, but I was still like, I could not believe, I was going nuts, man. I was watching it every day when I came home.
Yeah. Yep.
Some of those epic moments.
That's cool. Yeah, the Star Wars one, the Force Awakens, is cool because like it had been a while since we've seen any Star Wars project.
Yes,
in general, besides just watching like Phantom Menace, Attack of the Clones, Revenge of the Sith.
Yes.
So being like all those years kind of leading up to that moment and seeing that trailer, I'm sure like I don't remember watching the trailer. I remember watching the movie and being like just wow, like I think it was the fact that we're watching a Star Wars movie. That's why it impacted a lot of people so much, because it's like, wow, like we're back. Like this is the start of something. Not that it was the best after that, but we still got it. Yeah, you know? We still got it. And then like obviously now there's like countless shows and stuff with Star Wars, like Mandalorian exploded when that came out. Like that's something that we got to see, and you know, they catered to the fans there.
That did help kind of make up for everything that followed after the Star Wars films. Well, the later ones, but it did help the hype. For sure.
Oh, for sure. 100%. They needed that, because if not, it would have been rough.
So I have a question for you: is when you watch a movie, are you going in for the director, or are you going in sometimes for the actor, or is it a bit of both? Like, if you can honestly say, if there's a movie that you're really hyped for, what is it that intrigues you? Is it the acting or is it the directing?
A little bit of both, I would say.
Yeah.
A little bit of both, because, you know, Gosling's my guy. So I gotta go see him. Anything he does.
See that one. Yeah, the new one.
Like Barbie came out, I saw it for Gosling, but I knew Greta Gerwig's work already, because she had done Little Women, she had done Lady Bird. I had watched both of those, and I'd been a fan of those. I'm like, oh, these are sick. Like, what the hell?
Yes.
So then her making Barbie, I'm like, oh man. And then Gosling coming in, I was like, this has to be great.
So like when you have a dynamic duo, when it becomes like when it has a really good director and really good actors, it's just a big plus.
Exactly. Yeah. It just, I think it makes it even better for you, because you're watching the actor, but you've seen this director before, the style that he does. Yeah. So it's just making everything, you know, much better. And then like Oppenheimer, Chris Nolan and Cillian Murphy, like they've done a lot of movies together. You know, Cillian's not been the main lead, but he's been in them. So to see Oppenheimer where he has the lead, and you're just like waiting because I'm a Peaky Blinders fan. Like, I've watched that show so many times, and just his character, his
Yep.
piercing eyes, like we
Yeah.
always talk about this, the actors that can just say a story based off the look of their face, you know. Not many
sure.
people can do that, and he's one of them.
Yeah.
So seeing him Peaky Blinders and then leading up into, you know, becoming Oppenheimer, Robert J. Oppenheimer, like
Yes, yeah.
it's like, what?
And then like Killian's always like kind of like in his interviews, he's always very down to earth. He's very quiet.
Yeah.
He's like, I had the waffles the other day.
Dude like wants to be there but doesn't want to be
No,
there.
no.
Like he just wanders off. You just see him and he's just like, you know, in his own world. But he's like how a lot of people are, you know.
I had pancakes over waffles, and I could say it is very quite delightful.
Exactly. Yeah.
He's just like
So subtle, but
Yeah.
you're like he speaks and you just foam at the mouth, you know. So
Yeah.
yeah, I would say
yeah,
some actors, yes, I'm there for, and
Yeah.
then some directors, yes, I'm there for.
yeah. For sure. Like for me, it was movies like the Indiana Jones franchise. I love Steven Spielberg and George Lucas, so that's like a big plus. But the recent one, the Indiana Jones, The Dial of Destiny, was not as good. And
Dodged a bullet.
once again, I went in for Harrison Ford because I'm a huge fan of. But I always think, like in the back of my mind, like would that role be just as good if it was somebody else, not Harrison Ford? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's where I try to like think of the switch. Like, could other characters could someone else replace, obviously, like a Iron Man, like Robert Downey Jr. Like, there's
Yeah.
no way that could not replace those iconic characters, because you love those characters so much that to see them again interpreted by someone else, I don't know about
Yeah.
that. That's where I'm just like,
There's
no thanks.
yeah, no,
You know?
there's some people you just can't. And the ones you named, like Harrison Ford being in Indiana Jones, like,
Yeah.
no, you can't. There's
Yeah.
nobody else.
Yeah,
Like that guy needs to do it till he's like 100 and, 130. Like I don't care if he's still
Yeah.
kicking, put him in there. You know, if he's still up, let him roll.
I got my shoulder replaced.
How old is he?
He's already in his 80s. He just I think he
Man.
just hit his 80th birthday last year or somewhat this year.
Damn.
So yeah, he's
up
already up
there.
there. Yeah. I mean, he still looks good for his age. Don't get me wrong.
For sure.
He's another guy that I grew up watching. That I used to watch him in more of his suspenseful movies. He's really good at suspense and like mystery movies.
What are some of those?
The Fugitive, for that one, and then Air Force One, that was a great one, and then The Witness.
Oh.
Those are like real good suspenseful mystery. He's such a dramatic actor. He's never won an Oscar officially, but I just always think that I don't know. Sometimes I think he's an underrated actor. He doesn't get appreciated enough. Like maybe now. I mean, I think back then, even then, people didn't see him as that dramatic actor. But he's really good at the
Yeah.
adventure, obviously. But he's some of those movies were some of my earlier movies that I used
it's
to watch
funny
a lot.
those movies I didn't really watch. I only saw like the more mainstream ones, like Star Wars, you know, him playing
Oh, yeah,
Han Solo,
yeah.
and then like
Yeah.
Indiana Jones, you know, I watched those, but
Yeah.
that's where I knew Harrison Ford was from those, which, you know, those are probably the biggest ones that he's done.
Yeah.
Even like Blade Runner.
Oh yeah,
Like,
yeah.
Like
that's
those
right.
movies, I was like, wow, like dang,
That was
that's
a cool
cool.
one.
Like
Yeah.
I'm not as much of a fan as you.
Yeah.
You know, yeah, it's definitely I can understand where you feel like he was underrated, especially in his younger years, and I feel like now people appreciate it more.
Yeah.
Which it's like, what? Like, where was this 50 years
I know.
ago? You know,
I always feel
Like,
bad for those actors.
Yeah,
Because the hype was always, back then it was De Niro, Al Pacino.
Pacino,
The
yeah.
way my fucking die. It's just like, and then De Niro, no words,
just a face.
that's it, you know?
Yep.
And everybody was hyping those guys.
Yeah.
But underneath everything else, there was really great actors during that time. And then transitioning to, what's his face? Oh my God. Well, yeah, like Ryan Gosling was one of them. Ryan Reynolds made his way into romantic comedies.
Yeah.
So did Chris Evans. Mm-hmm. And then, Gosling again with The Notebook. That was a big
man.
classic movie. Even for me, I still watch it to this day.
Yeah.
I will admit that. But it's just like there was a shift when it came into the new generation, and these are the actors we're growing up with.
Yeah.
And even a little bit like guys like Keanu Reeves, Tom Cruise, where they're making their comebacks now, and they were already so big in the 80s. Now they're making a comeback again in the late 2000s.
And it feels like they made it even better.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
John Wick's come out, dude.
Yes.
Like what? Like what the hell?
Like what happened? Yeah.
Like those movies are badass.
I just always think, where was this movie? Right? Like when he was younger.
Yeah.
But
because it's like even in like the later John Wick movies, like he's moving, but man, you see a little
Yeah.
You obviously you get older, you lose that pep in your step,
the momentum.
So if they did John Wick like 20 years ago, my man would be flying.
I know, man. Yeah, that's why. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like some of those movies watching back then, like The Matrix, I used to watch that one a lot. And then like the earlier Mission Impossibles. I'm like, man, those are great movies. But these movies now that they're making, it's like, how the hell are they keeping up? And they're already hitting 60.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying. You go to the movies to watch these guys that are already like, they're not too old, but they're still like in the middle, but they're getting to that point where you're like, how long you got? How much fuel you got in the tank? Like
need some gas.
So like,
I feel like that also makes it more impressive though. You look at it and you're like, wow, like they're up there in age and they're still doing, like Tom Cruise, dude, doing his own stunts. Like
still
that's
running.
Insane. That's insane for his age.
Yes, yeah.
You know? And then in MI6 when he broke his ankle for that stunt, you're just like, what the heck? So yeah, all this talk about movies, all this talk about actors and directors and all that, but I want to know from you, Adrian.
Yeah.
What are or who are some of your favorite directors?
Well, I mean, it's pretty much a lot of decades of, I guess you could say, well established directors, guys like Steven Spielberg. I can't imagine a world without Steven Spielberg as far as movies like Jurassic Park, Jaws, Indiana Jones, Saving Private Ryan, all these like classic movies. You get to the more modern generation, guys like Quentin Tarantino. You have Pulp Fiction, you have Kill Bill, Hateful Eight. Yeah, exactly. And then after that, we got into the Nolan directing. Like, even though Nolan was still simultaneously working at the same time as probably as Tarantino, but I think it wasn't until like the mid to early 2000s that's when I feel like Nolan made an impact with The Dark Knight.
Like the movies, like the scale of those movies was just bigger. Like it just kept getting bigger. At that point.
And then seeing his other later work like Inception, Interstellar,
Oppenheimer,
Dunkirk, all those movies. And then I just feel like our generation is really spoiled with some of our greatest directors of all time, and even like what's his name, Denis
Villeneuve.
I can't say his name.
It's hard. It's
Blade Runner.
The way it's spelled is like
it's
Dennis
weird.
Via sounds like that, but it's Denis.
Villeneuve.
It's so weird.
And then like the other underrated directors that made all the superhero movies, like Bryan Singer, who made all the X-Men movies. And then we get into like all the directors like Jon Favreau. And the Russo brothers?
Russo brothers,
yes. Like, without those guys, and there wouldn't be these timeless movies like Infinity War, Endgame. There would not be any of these movies that we got to. No.
Yep.
So, like, I feel like everything is just a big domino effect of how many, directors that we go through the decades, and they just keep getting better and better. And then there's just different styles completely. They're just totally different. And sometimes I go to watch a movie because of the directing style. Like, what's a movie 100%. That you like you go because of the style, because you respect this director? Like, what's the director that is always in the back of your mind where you're like, I have to go see it because of the director?
A couple come to mind. You saw Uncut Gems, right?
Yes.
Safdie brothers.
Okay, yeah. Wow,
very chaotic, non-stop style.
Oh man,
like it reminds me of like how big city life is.
Yes,
It's just on the go, no stops. You can't even breathe. You can't think.
Yeah.
You just keep going. So Uncut Gems is like that. And then
That's
the movie
cool.
they did before was Good Time with Robert Pattinson.
Oh yes.
And
yeah, yeah.
obviously the styles very much similar, very much translate over to each other. So
Yeah.
knowing that, when I watch Uncut Gems, I'm like, what? This is literally like the same
Yes,
thing, but now you have Adam Sandler.
Yeah,
you have
yeah.
another story, and because it involves basketball, like I'm a huge basketball fan, so
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
he's just KG. Like that's all you hear. So seeing that fast pace, nonstop, like it gives you like anxiety watching the movie, but
True, yeah.
it's like thrilling. It's
Yeah,
kinda
yeah.
like just like it's like it just rushes through your veins and stuff.
Yes. Yeah.
The other one would be Damien Chazelle,
Oh yeah.
director of La La Land, someone we know very, very well because of that movie.
Yes. Yeah.
And then some of his other work, like when he did Whiplash. Whiplash he did before La La Land, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
That's
like
right.
you saw Whiplash and you're like, wow, Whiplash it's pretty cool. You know,
Yes,
like I
yeah.
like that. And you know, seeing that and then seeing that translate to where La La Land is, you know.
Yes. Yeah.
And seeing how as far as the similarity is, you know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? Like it's so cool to see. Like it's basically like watching someone grow up.
Yeah.
It's
yeah.
like
for
watching
sure.
someone become their own person.
Yeah.
You know, he has his own style and it just elevates slowly.
Yes,
And
yeah.
obviously La La Land now is like a classic. It's going to be showed
Yeah.
for
So we're
forever, you know?
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
Like they're going to have that at just movie theaters playing
Yes.
like plazas like here.
Yeah,
They're going to
yeah.
be showing that. And then even his work after, like he did First Man, that was also with Ryan Gosling.
That's right. Yeah.
That one, I mean,
Still.
I liked it. It wasn't my favorite, but it's a movie I can watch. Like
Right,
I
right.
watched it and I was like, oh, good movie. You know, not
Yeah.
the impact that the other two had. Still good.
Something about the music element he's so good at. I really want, Damien Chazelle, I always tell you this, that I want him to do a Buddy Rich movie.
Like if anyone had to do Buddy Rich, it'd have to be him.
He's
It
so
has to
good.
be.
He's so good at
he's
it.
Good with
He's
it.
got
yeah.
the music elements down. So
I've seen him play Kit too.
That's
like, have
right,
you seen
yeah.
videos of like
Yes,
he's
yeah.
he's not bad. Like I feel like as former drummers, just
yeah.
by the eye test,
Yeah.
like you can tell when someone's not
Like,
good and when
yeah.
someone's good just by the way they hold their sticks, just
Yeah.
by the way their movements are. Just,
Right,
you know,
right.
I feel like you can tell. And watching him play, I'm like, you know, he's not
not that bad.
not
yeah.
too bad. you
Yeah.
know, not too bad.
I actually have seen a couple of videos. Yeah, he's pretty good.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I think those are a couple people that I
That's really cool.
really
yeah.
like. And then obviously I brought it up earlier, Greta Gerwig, you know, coming out with Lady Bird, Little
Yes.
Women, then
Yes.
Barbie, like seeing that obviously Barbie's, you know, not like those, but
Yeah.
it is in a way.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, like it's
That'd be
just
cool.
the evolution. I feel like it's cool kind of watching a director where when their first like major motion picture comes out
Yes.
to
yeah.
like what it is now or
Yeah.
just looking back at their career, it's such a
Yeah.
cool thing to see. It's like you're going to school learning about history, you know?
Yeah, they really do like put a dent in filmmaking. Like they really do. Like I mean, not even a dent. It's more of like an impact. Like these directors, all directors really do make their mark and they leave their legacy because it's like, you know, like and I know like guys like Tarantino, like he's already retiring, and I always think about his style too. And you think like with the first time watching like Inglourious Bastards, Pulp Fiction, like those movies, like because he adds that humor into it, where it's like it's so serious and so disturbing, and yet he can still throw in like humor in it, and it's like how are these guys like able to give you that that balance where it's serious but it's not so serious at the same time? Like that's so crazy to me.
Yep.
And it's going to be sad to see him retire if he does. Supposedly, I don't know if the rumors are true or not. You know,
I heard about that.
You
He's
know.
not doing the movie critic anymore.
Yeah.
So I'll like just hearing that title
know,
as
yeah.
a movie, you're like, what? Like that's
yeah.
so cool.
That is cool, yeah.
but now
Such a
to
cool-
hear like that's
He's like-
probably not happening, you're like, ah, man.
if he goes into like TV series, I'll still be fine with that. Like,
Yeah.
like a Netflix too or some
Oh,
sort
for
of.
sure.
I'll be happy with that.
Yep.
Because he's so talented, that guy. His writing, his screenplay, and directing, and his style, everything in general. And but like us, like now we have like Christopher Nolan, and he's like I'd say the biggest, one of the biggest like cinematic directors right now.
And it's funny
And
because
Denis,
like
you know.
I see so many people like they'll ask what's your favorite movie and they'll say like Interstellar and stuff, and I'm just like,
Yeah, yeah.
people shit on people who say that, But it's just like, dude, that movie's it's
Yeah.
it used to be one of my favorite. It's kind of like dialed down just because I haven't watched it in a while.
Yeah.
But like, I don't have a problem with people saying that. You know
Yeah,
what I
no,
mean?
that's
like,
pretty
if
cool, yeah.
Interstellar is your favorite movie, or if it's
Up
The
there,
Dark
yeah.
Knight,
Yeah,
or
yeah.
like,
Yeah.
awesome, like that's
Yeah,
sick.
yeah.
Like, I hate when people shit on people because you think of Christopher Nolan and then you like associate that person with being like trying to be like a know-it-all or a critic, or
Yeah,
like
yeah,
they
yeah.
work for Rotten fucking Tomatoes or something, you know?
Yeah,
like
yeah.
it's like the cliche answer, I
Yeah,
guess
yeah.
you could say, like, oh, Christopher Nolan, like, yeah.
Yeah.
You think of that person, but
Yeah.
it's like, I don't think of that person.
Right.
I'm like,
right.
no, like that guy
Yeah, he's made his mark now.
unworldly.
Yeah.
Just the mind he has, and
Mm-hmm.
especially if you watch like a lot of special features
Yeah.
from those movies and stuff,
Oh, yeah.
like you get to see where he's coming from, see his ideas being brought to life.
Yeah.
And I feel like watching that aspect of him makes me more of a fan because he helps me understand where he's coming from
Exactly. Yeah.
and understand why people like him so much.
Exactly,
I
yeah.
do,
Yeah.
but I'm just like,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
get why people get fed up with like hearing his name and hearing like Interstellar thrown
Yeah,
around and
yeah.
stuff, but it makes sense when you actually watch these people, you know?
I mean, it's just in the it's like the proof is in the pudding though. That's the thing. It's like The Dark Knight was it was the number one box office movie at one point.
Yeah.
Like, and that was not even part of his movie, like his other biography or any kind of like.
Yeah, that
was a superhero movie. That wasn't even a movie that he made.
Right.
But it's up there because it's the actors he chose, the Heath Ledger, Christian Bale, everybody, at the timing, the chemistry, everything is just on point.
Yep.
The scale is just so big and grand, but it's true. It's just, but it goes back even further, like Steven Spielberg. Like, I always look at Jurassic Park. Like, there's no other directors that when those movies came out that could have tackled these projects other than these certain directors that take these projects and they just morph them into these,
Yeah.
enormous stories.
Yeah.
So
Definitely true.
yeah, yeah.
No, yeah. Just had to say that because people would be like, "Oh, this guy likes Christopher Nolan." I'm just like, it's not that. It's just like I dived in and understood and put in the time to watch a lot of stuff that doesn't get shown on screen, a lot of behind the scenes stuff, and I feel like
Yeah.
when you do that, you get an understanding of
You see
different
where they're
people.
coming from.
Exactly.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
It's like that answer. It's not invalid.
Yes,
It's very
yeah.
much valid. That's
Yeah.
why I don't judge people when they say that, because I'm just like,
Right.
that's what they like. Like,
Yeah.
how do I know what they know?
Yeah, exactly.
Because they
yeah.
say something, like, I'm already going to associate
Once
them with
again,
that.
yeah, it just ties into music, art, painting, drumming, movies. It's all subjective. People
It
have,
is. Yeah,
people
yeah.
have certain looks, certain things, and it's like there's nothing happening.
Yeah.
Same thing with like a painting. If a painting is like a square with just a shade of white, and they say, "Oh, this is a painting," and I'm like, "Okay, but what's so special about this white painting? Like,
Yeah.
what is so special about this white wall? Like, what
Like,
makes
modern
it
art is just...
and some people take it to the extreme where they're like, "Oh yeah, well, you got to understand that the resembles here with the artist, what they were thinking is he was resembling this as his and I'm like, no, I'm sorry. Like, anybody can just put a strand of white like this and call themselves. See, this is where the controversy gets. This is where I get very like, I don't know, because I know what it's like on that perspective of creating.
Yeah.
When you create something, for me and you, it's in our DNA, and it's not that I need art. It's more like I have to do this because this is how we have our conversations. This is we're having a dialogue right now, just talking about this, because some art is subjective, but it's just the way you approach it. And I don't know.
It's like if it's like if me and you created something right now.
Yeah.
And I was like, hey, let's make a TikTok page of some art.
Yeah.
And I'm going to record you doing the dumbest things. And
Yeah.
people are going to like go crazy over it because it's so dumb.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
people are going to think it's real.
Yeah.
Like if I recorded you painting and you just
Yeah.
like threw like mud at a canvas.
Yeah, exactly.
And then we just hyped it up.
Yeah.
People would be like, oh, wow. Like,
Yeah, he's amazing.
this is...
Yeah.
How much?
How much?
And it's like we just trolled everyone to see how dumb everyone is.
Yeah, there's a certain point, a certain extent to where I draw the line. I don't know. I just, because I feel like I've been onto that spectrum where you create something that's so good and yet it's not received well. And then I create things that are not so good, and then sometimes people will talk about it and they'll be like, well, you could add this and this, and I'm just like, yeah, you're right. But I feel like the more you dive in your creativity, the more you're trying to show what you're about. That's the way I look at it. But when you only do one strand, it's like anybody can just go like that.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Yeah, that's a whole other subject.
Yeah, but we'll have to dial back on that, because that's a good one. I like that, especially you, because you know more about that and what it takes to make and create when it comes to painting and art. Literally, the word art.
Even like music too.
Right.
It's like they tell famous composers, too many notes, take out some few notes. And like, what does that mean to an artist? Like,
yeah,
you can't just tell someone to dub down their creativity, and then you can't tell someone to make less of it's just yeah,
we know what our next episodes are gonna be, guys, so stick around for those. But I think that pretty much wraps up some movie talk, director talk. It was nice kind of discussing that, just kind of getting to know a little bit of our perspective and where we come from and what we like action, rom-com, but we like a little bit of everything,
true, a
little bit of everything. So we'll call it there for this EP, and we will see you guys next time.
So take it easy.
See
you later.
Peace.